Welcome back to another episode of The Single Season, hosted by me, Alison Wellington. I am so excited to have today's guest. Her name is Alicia, and Alicia wants to know a little bit about how to wait out and process her romantic life during her single season. So, Alicia, I'm going to turn it over to you. First of all, thank you for being a guest on the show. We appreciate you. And just thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Alison. It's actually my pleasure and honor to be here. So thank you for inviting me to be a part of your show. It is really cool that we're talking about, the single season.
Yes.
And so what should I be doing during my single season? Like, what is the best thing I should be doing during my single season?
That's an excellent question. And that's a question I get a lot. So number one, we need to clarify and probably define the single season, because a lot of people say that they're single and they're entangled and they're in situationships,
yes.
and all, which they are still single by definition.
Okay.
But a healthy single season means that you are not romantically involved with anyone.
That's good. I'm glad you said that because,
Yes.
listen, Instagram and TikTok will have you all in your feelings because, I'll scroll down Instagram and one person will be saying, if you are not in a committed relationship, then you are single.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying to me, if I am still romantically involved with somebody, like we are talking, consistently,
Mm-hmm.
I am not in my single season.
You're not in a healthy single season.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
so that
I like
scroll that you
I
were
like
just
that.
talking about
Okay, yes.
is true.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I mean, we could even take it as far as if you're in a committed relationship, you're single, like legally, but we're not going to get all that.
Okay.
So that's right in the sense that if you're not in a committed relationship
Mm-hmm.
where, hi, Allison, this is my boyfriend, Tom.
Yes.
Right? Like that, clear as day. If you're not in a committed relationship,
Okay.
you are single.
Okay.
However, a lot of people are single, but they're in situationships, and that's not healthy.
Okay.
It's not going to get them to the position that I would imagine that you desire,
Yeah.
which let's get into that a little bit. So what are you looking for in the long term?
I want to be married.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm literally, I've been asking God and talking to God, and I'm like, listen, I am tired of being out here in these streets dating 2 or 3 guys at the same time, not remembering who's got kids and who doesn't,
Right.
and all these things. I really just want to be honed in on one person,
Mm-hmm.
talking to them consistently, where there's consistent respect, consistent communication,
Mm-hmm.
and just feeling like I am in their space as much as they're in my space.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just that mutuality and being in something that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I understand
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be perfect
Right.
because, neither one of us is perfect, but us having the same goals and, going down that path, right?
Okay, got it. So healthy, happy marriage.
Yes.
That's what you desire.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Founded on God.
all right. So that's the point, right?
Yes.
So let's get clear on that for anybody else who's listening now. When we're talking about a
Right.
healthy single season, you are by yourself, right? And you are not entangled. It's not I don't know.
Mhm.
But you should be actively dating.
Right.
Now let's
Okay.
talk about that active dating. You just mentioned it. I know the ladies many times don't want to hear it. You should be dating more than one person at a time.
Gosh, it's so exhausting, Alison.
Y'all say that.
It is exhausting, and I'm saying it because it's like, okay, because as females, we get emotionally involved, right? It's like, okay, now I'm involved with you, and I'm a loyalist by fault, so I always feel like I'm cheating on somebody.
Mhm.
Like somebody.
You see his face?
I know. Look at your face, and you like, I'm not impressed with your answer, girl.
No, you're not cheating.
Okay.
You are being forthcoming. So this is what it's going to look like for you.
Okay.
First of all, you need to accept the fact that you should be dating more than one person at a time. You got to accept that,
I gotta
right?
accept that. Okay.
Because dating is data. You are collecting data. You are collecting information.
Okay.
If you were going to look for a new job, right? You would
Right.
not apply for one job, submit your resume and cover letter, hold out and wait to see if you got the call. 2 weeks later, there's the interview. Wait 3 more months. You got bills to pay. You have a responsibility. There are things you want to do. So you're going to submit multiple resumes. You're going to go to multiple interviews. You are going to gather information about the different positions. And then if you're offered more than one position, now you're going to weigh the pros and cons. Perhaps you might go on an interview and recognize immediately, this ain't the job for me.
Okay.
And then
Yes.
so you can say something or not, but you would kind of remove yourself from consideration. This is the same approach. You need to be actively dating, seeing, going out with, spending quality time, not being sexually intimate with. That's for the
Absolutely.
audience.
Yeah.
That's for the audience.
Right.
Not for you, but not being sexually intimate
Right.
with more than one person at a time, but dating more than one person, gathering information, seeing what you like, more importantly, what you don't like, having new experiences.
Okay.
So you said the word that triggers me, which is exhausting. It's so exhausting. I get that all the time. Many times it's exhausting because we're not even dating the right people.
This is very true. This is very true. And so then that leads me to a question for you.
Yes.
How do I weed out the people to date? Because literally today, and it's crazy, literally today I got hit on by a guy that at the gas station, and his name is, I won't mention his name, but he was like, hey, Emery, because, he saw my license plate. And so, we got to talking, and immediately I was already like, I'm not about to date you, but you can have my business number. And I told him that. I said, you can have my business number. We can, text or whatever. So how do you, I already knew like up front, this ain't gonna be it. But how do you decide, like with guys who seem to be qualified, how do you just say, okay, yes, no, yes, no?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, the guy in the gas station, you said immediate. You did this. You said immediately.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that there was a presentation problem.
Well, yes. It was a lot going on.
So what was the presentation problem?
We're at a gas station, so he was in his like regular clothes, no problem. Like if I was at the grocery store and in sweats, like I wouldn't be, tripping, but it was like the way he was like talking, and I am very it's very important for me to be with someone who has a relationship with God.
Yes.
And so of course I asked that question. I said, hey, do you go to church? And he was like, no, I normally work on Sundays. I was like, okay, no problem. Do you know Jesus? And he was like, well, a year ago, or I grew up in the church. And I was like, immediately, for me, I was like, okay, this is not going in the direction that I would particularly like it for it to go. And so he, I was like, okay. And so he started saying, well, maybe you can, help me on my journey. And I was like, no problem. But for me, I was like, no, this is not somebody I would date.
Okay, so when I said presentation problem, I meant looks.
Looks.
I'm sorry, I should have been straightforward. That's what I meant.
I'm sorry.
So it wasn't a looks issue.
He wasn't a bad looking guy. Like,
okay, good.
He was attractive, but I don't know.
Okay, so you started out right, a little heavy at the gas station.
Of course.
But your line of questioning was right on target.
Okay.
So that means you've already identified that it is a requirement that the man that you date is a God-fearing man, has a relationship with God, Christian, whatever terminology fits you, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what you need to do is identify every other requirement. Now, when I say every other requirement now, I'm not talking about a thesis.
Okay.
Right? So what I advise are 6 non-negotiables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
6 of them.
Okay, that's
You get a piece
easy.
of paper, you get a pen, and you write down what are the top 6 things that your husband must have.
Okay. I like
Top
that.
6 things.
Top 6. Okay.
Right.
Why not 10?
Okay, because some things you won't be able to assess quickly.
Okay.
Right? So you want to make it purposeful. I want to be able to tell by the end of date number 3, if even that, really ideally like before date number 1.
Okay.
But I'm going to give a little grace. I want to be able to tell by date number 3, which maybe is 2 weeks into us conversing, 3 weeks into us conversing. I want to be able to tell if you are absolutely not a right match.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you though, it doesn't mean that your guy is a man of only 6 character traits or behavior traits. Of course, we're multifaceted, but I need you to be targeted. I need you to be specific. You mentioned earlier, well, I only want to date one person because women tend to get attached. This is going to help you not get attached quickly. If I have a checklist that's, this is what I require, these are the questions that I ask that are in alignment with what I require, these are the behaviors that I'm looking for that are in alignment with what I require. As soon as he doesn't pass the test, oh, you go to church? No.
Okay.
Party done.
Right.
Ain't nothing to talk about. Right. And it's not an offense to him.
Right.
He just needs to find a woman when he's ready who doesn't really care in either direction, and you will continue your search. So that's why I say 6. We want to keep it easy. I liked 5, but they was pushing back, so I made 6.
Okay. I love
Easy,
it.
straightforward, and so it helps you to eliminate inappropriate matches early on. So to go back to that other question, which is how do you know yes, no, yes, no, you get that list. You make sure you're clear on these are the 6 things I require. Number 2 is going to be, this is a hard question, do you have those 6 things? Or can you compliment? Do you
That's
have?
a good question. That's good.
Do you
Do I have
have
those 6
or
things,
can you
can I
complement
those 6 things?
right? Because
Okay.
we don't have an expectation that a woman is going to be and should not be the exact equal to a man, right? And by equal, I mean equal, like exact same,
Yeah.
not equity, right? But
Yes.
equal.
Totally get that.
So it doesn't have to be you have everything. He makes 100,000, I make 100,000. He
Right.
goes to the gym 7 times a week. It doesn't have to be that, but it needs to be where it makes sense. So if you require a gentleman who's fit, that means you're into fitness.
Right. Okay.
Right?
That makes
If
sense.
you require a man who's hardworking, you should be hardworking. Now your hard work may be in the home. Right?
Okay.
Your hard work may be entrepreneurship 24/7 never stops.
Right.
Your hard work might be 9 to 5 dedicated to your career in corporate, but it should be hard work nonetheless.
Okay.
Right?
I
You
like
got to
that.
make sure that you
like
have what you're asking for.
Yeah.
Because that's how you know if something is practical or realistic. Do you have it or can you complement it? Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense.
Now, I want to go back to the money thing. A lot of
Okay.
people kind of get lost in the money thing. Now, I'm
Yeah.
going to say it again. So this gentleman could be wealthy, right? Doesn't mean you have to be.
Right.
But be realistic. Would a wealthy man want to date someone whose credit is a mess, who can't manage their own finances,
Okay.
right? I would imagine that a wealthy man, even though he has it to give it, he still wants to know that his woman, his wife, is a good steward of money.
Yeah. Okay.
That he can rely on her and trust her, that she's not going to run away with his money.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by compliment.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Okay, now you take those things. So we have the 6,
Okay.
we have the questions,
Right.
we have the behaviors, right? Now you need to start implementing them. A lot of times, women are afraid to ask the hard questions
This is true.
because he has a good presentation.
Right.
So damn, I don't want to ruin it now and ask him if you got a wife.
Now listen,
All
that's
right.
definitely look, you
For
can't
you.
be married. For me.
Yes.
Like you can't be
I
married
do.
and then separated. I need you to be completely divorced. We don't have time for, this wishy-washy.
Yes. So some people are afraid to ask those hard questions, so they don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin the moment. And then the moment is 6 weeks, and the moment is 6 months, and the moment is 6 years.
Yeah.
And then you never asked, hey, do you believe in marriage?
Right.
Right? And I want to be married, and I never asked this man. We done potentially had kids together already, which I don't advise.
Right. And
But
moved in
it
together,
happens. We
all the
bought
things.
properties
Right.
together. And you not asking a question like, baby, I want to be married. What are your thoughts on marriage?
Yeah.
And then you surprised when he comes around and says, well, my parents was never married. They was happy, so.
Why should we? Right.
And then whose fault is that?
It ends up
And then
being
whose
yours.
fault is that?
Right.
Right? And so you got it. Like I said, the gas station might have been a little early. If you thought that he was handsome enough, the presentation was decent enough, then we exchange numbers and then we could get on the phone and start talking about, well, what's your belief system and da. But nonetheless, you're right on the money in regards to you know what you want. You start asking those questions early.
Okay.
First conversation. Because why are you getting dolled up and beautified
Right.
to go on a date with someone who is just an inappropriate, not a bad person.
Right.
Just an inappropriate match for you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right?
Even though, folks, I won't say everybody, but, folks like a free dinner. But but that's why I started, recently, when I started dating, I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, we don't even have to do, a really fancy dinner. Let's just meet up for a coffee because I don't want you wasting money. Or, oh, you don't like the coffee? Oh, I done said another trigger word.
Another one. So let me tell you.
Okay.
My advice to the gentlemen, because the gentlemen are the ones who normally pay.
This is true.
Right? Is I want you to date within your means. So if a gentleman, and he should be dating more than one woman. So what does that mean? If he's taking Mary out on Friday and then Samantha out on Sunday, right? And then Alicia out on, right? So then this is going to start adding up. Now, you could have paid rent with the money that you spend if you're spending hundreds of dollars per day. So I would like my husband to be fiscally sound, which means he's going to make financially intelligent decisions, which would not include that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So what does that mean, though? That does not mean you get away with a coffee date. We're not doing a $10 date now. Come on now. So but it could be 10, it could be 50.
Yeah.
I want you to put some effort. So I'm from Brooklyn, right?
Okay.
We have some great parks. We have pizza. What do you call the oven baked, the brick oven baked pizzas, right? Like we got ice cream. Make it
all
effort.
the things.
Plans, y'all. You know your city.
Yeah.
You know where you go, where the parks are, where the lake is, where we can feed the birds, where we can get some nice fresh gelato, you can keep it where it's cheap and short. 'Cause I think that's the
Okay.
part that the ladies sometimes like. They say, hey, Alison, hey, don't shit on the coffee date.
Right.
Because at least if I don't like the guy, I could get in and get out.
Right.
But you could get in and get out with something that's a bit more creative. I don't want the guys to get lazy.
Okay.
Do a little better. Let's find the nice Parisian bistro.
Oh, that
right?
would be so
It has some what's those little cracker things? You know what I'm talking about?
uh
I was gonna say biscotti, but
not
whatever they call. You
yes,
know what I'm talking
I know
about,
what you're talking
right?
about.
Like
Yes.
some little biscuits. Like do a little something. I don't want you jumping out the window. And I understand wanting to get out. I understand brevity, but we got to put some effort.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Okay, so all right, so my next question is:
Yes.
you're dating these guys or whatever.
Mhm.
They start out hot. They are on point, intentional, calling all the time, FaceTime, Then it gets like maybe 3-4 months in, and it's like, okay, so I hadn't heard from you in like 2 weeks. So what's happening? You know, you pop up and text and say good morning, and then I don't hear anything from you. What should I do in that situation? Like I'm trying to see where this is going, but it's we've had the same conversation.
Let me ask you, in those instances, have there been reciprocity? So he's called 2 times, have you called once? He's texted 2 times, have you texted back in a timely fashion? You show up for the dates.
Yes.
Because what happens is sometimes that the guys get to the point where they're the only ones who are calling and texting, and then they get to the realization maybe she don't like me.
Okay.
Right? And we want a man who's like reading the room, right? We want him to be like emotional.
Yeah.
So hey, if at 3 months I'm the one who's always calling and texting and asking, and you kind of igging me, then I'm gonna fall back.
Okay.
But if there's reciprocity, you know that you have let the gentleman know I like you and I'd like to spend more time with you. It's clear as day.
Yes.
Then it could be a couple things. It could be his wife found out.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lord.
Jesus.
Yes.
Oh Lord.
Or a girlfriend or whatever, right?
Okay, right.
It could be that, remember, we should be dating more than one person at a time.
Yes. So he's
maybe
probably dating more people. Okay.
or not even like more, but that he's decided to zero in on someone else.
Okay.
And one of the things that bother me about the gentleman, and I defend them a lot, but one thing that really bothers me about some guys and their behavior is that they don't end things with women.
Yeah.
Full-on girlfriends or just a woman that they're seeing casually.
Yeah.
They would rather disappear or start to treat women poorly to force the woman's hand because they say, I don't want to be the bad guy. Well, guess what, sir? You still being the bad guy. You're still being the bad guy when you're not direct.
Yeah.
Right? And so it could be that either he had a full-on woman before and she's catching on, is getting too hot. He's liking you. He's realizing what he's doing is wrong. He wants to stop. He wants to pull away.
Okay.
Or it could very well be that he was seeing someone else and he's just investing more in that woman. I wouldn't try to pull him back in.
Okay.
I wouldn't. If I liked him, I would say, hey, you know, things were going well, right? We were seeing each other a lot and it seems like you've fallen back. Is everything okay? Right? They like to say like, I'm going through something right now, which many times is BS, is a full-blown lie. Like, all right, well, let me know if there's anything I could do to support you. Boom, press send, you're done.
Okay.
Right? If it is legitimately his mom is ill, he's had to put his father in a home. Yeah. Like if it is something that you could support in some form or fashion, perhaps you're picking up medication every 2 weeks and dropping it off at mom's. Like if there's something you could do to help because at minimum he's a friend.
You're right.
Then fine.
Absolutely.
If it's real.
Okay.
Most of the time it's not real. They're going through something, meaning I'm going through it with my wife who found out about you. I don't know how to end things with you because you are a wonderful woman, but I've decided to invest in someone else.
Okay.
But I dropped, I'm just checking in with you because I used to hear from you all the time. I want to make sure everything's well with you. He gives you his response. If it's something that you can jumpstart again with that one message, because you're doing your part.
Right.
One message, then jumpstart it. Oh no, actually I've just been really overwhelmed at work. I'm going up for senior partner and I have been working 60-hour weeks. And right, if you can work with it, if it's reasonable, if it's unreasonable with no explanation, even though I would have appreciated if you just told me that in the front end, but we give a little bit of grace and we extend our hand one time. And then after that, if they fall off again, they've fallen off for good.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that answer.
Good.
So, are you married? Are you in the dating streets too?
Girlfriend, you ain't see this blank girl.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We just celebrated 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love that. Okay, so when you find what was that thing that you were like, okay, these other guys that I'm dating no longer matter. I am zeroed in on this guy. What was that made that shift? And how easy was it to shift? And then how did you tell the other gentleman that like, okay, we not kicking it no more. Because that to me is like the sticky part, because I'm like, now I got to tell you that I've, now had this bond with, that I, was kicking it with down.
Bunch, Mom. We went to some shows. We enjoyed each other's company.
Okay.
We gave each other some reassuring words when we had a tough day at work, or Mom was sick and we didn't know she was going to make it through. Like... Right? But I do like what you said in regards to, we do want to give someone a little bit of closure. Now, we don't live for closure.
Okay.
Right? We don't live for closure. Because what you going to do? You never going to move on if someone doesn't fully close out the chapter, which you know. But I like the fact that you even desire to do that, because a lot of people run away, men and women.
Yeah.
So this is what you're going to do. What you're going to do is, once you've zeroed on that man, and the zeroing in is not you deciding, out of 3, number 2 is the one for me. Forget 1 and whoever number I forgot. We're zeroing in on him, right?
Okay.
It's he zeroing in on you. It's going to be, Alicia, when you going to delete them apps and stop playing with me?
Oh.
Yeah.
We're going to be real intentional.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. Because as you said, relatively speaking, we already are as women.
Right.
Right? So it's them that kind of still play in the field.
Right.
So it's going to be, girl, when are you going to stop playing and get off them apps? Or it's going to be, y'all go to a party, right? And he introduces you to his frat bro. Oh, this is my girlfriend. Say, what? This is news to me. You keep quiet.
Okay.
Right? When we get in the car now,
right,
it's going to be, well, I'm sure that you noticed you introduced me to such and such as. You have something to tell me? But I need the words.
Yeah.
We must require the words.
Okay.
That is my man. Right? I am his woman, partner, girlfriend, whatever terminology folks like. Because what will happen, and this is the problem with these situationships. Okay. What's going to happen is that we rocking,
right,
we vibing, we're going with the flow. 6 months passes, 8 months pass, and then you have a requirement that's boyfriend level. Well, babe, where you going?
All right.
Where you going so late? Or he come 3 o'clock. You come in here 3 o'clock in the morning. What he going to say? You not my girl.
Yeah. That's problematic. That's
problematic. And you're gonna have to eat crow, because that's the truth.
Because it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the God-given truth.
So we gotta get the words. If they're not willing or able to give you the words, then they're not the right one. So back to the original. So it's not about you making a choice, really. Okay. Of course, obviously you make a choice. Right. But it's, you have your 2, your 3. Maybe you like them all equally. Maybe you're leaning towards one more than the other. You're dismissing people when they are not an appropriate match. You're not waiting for the zone in. Okay. Right? So if someone's not a right match, you let them go. Yeah. Hey, James, I really enjoyed the time that we spent together so far, but I don't think that we're in alignment. We're not looking for the same things, and I wish you the best moving forward. Send. It don't even got to be a phone call.
Oh. Really?
Send.
We texting it now?
You can.
Okay.
You can. This is not your man.
Oh, that's just true.
Right? If this was a full-blown partnership, you would never send a breakup text. That's ridiculous, right? Yeah. This is just out of the kindness of my heart, because I don't want you to be lingering and unsure about me, right? So you let go number 3, you let go number 1, because they're not an appropriate match, not because you've zoned in,
gotcha.
Right? Okay. Or the other way is that he zoned in on you and you say, he's the right one for me. I've went back through my non-negotiables. He checks off 6, not 26.
Not 26.
6 boxes and more. And he can cook. And he has a great relationship with his family. Yeah. And he, right? And so he said that I am the one. He asked me to be the one so that we are the ones together.
Okay.
That's how you do it.
I like that. Okay, so even for the alpha female, we got to wait for him to zone in on us, because I'm a very strong personality. So I have a problem with like waiting for him to do stuff. Like I'm just kind of like, okay, do I nudge him or do you just chill?
So the nudge is when you make it clear exactly what you're looking for multiple times. There should be multiple nudges. Okay. But I don't even see it as a nudge. It's you talking about what your goals are, what your dreams are, what your desires are, right? And so on maybe conversation number 2 or maybe on date number 1, I'm already talking about my husband. So when someone says, well, Alicia, what you looking for in a man? Well, in my husband, I desire. That's nudge number 1. Yeah. From our first, I'm telling you now that this is what I require and desire, right? So it's not, James, will you marry me? Never.
Right.
Never. Right? Never. But it's, when I get married.
Yes.
Or, again, casual, it's, I always thought about getting married on the beach of Jamaica. Right? Like, what about you? Have you ever thought about where you want to walk down the aisle or with your wife, right? Not even me.
Right.
It's not even me. Your wife.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about that? Oh, well, you know, my mother is Italian, so I know I have to have me a big church, whatever.
Okay.
That's the conversation. It's not about Alicia specifically. It's not about Alison specifically.
Yeah.
I need to know that this gentleman desires marriage. Does he believe in the institution of marriage? Has he given it thought? How you 35, 38, 42 and say, I never really thought about it? You never really thought about it. There's no way. That means that you aren't there yet.
Right.
And that's not where we are.
Okay.
We are women who are intentional. We want marriage. We want men who want marriage.
That's the part.
We're not here to convince anybody what the pros and cons are. And I'm not here to do that. I want someone who already wants it. The dating process is to see if we want it together.
Okay. That's good.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That's really good.
Any lingering questions? Any lingering thoughts?
I do. Just this one last one. So I am celibate, right? So when is the appropriate time to bring up that conversation? Should that be a part of that 6, or should I wait until, okay, let's have the first date, let's have that conversation? Because I literally will just ask and be like, look, I'm celibate, how you feel about that? Or also my other conversation is, I am, I'm not yet 40, but I have fertility challenges. So do you want more children? So like, when do I have that conversation? Should I do that, again, a part of that 6, or should I wait?
So the 6 non-negotiables are behaviors and traits that your husband has.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So that's going to be adjectives: hardworking, affectionate, loving, spiritual, family oriented. So that's that, right? So that doesn't have anything to do with your celibacy.
Okay.
So my recommendation is to bring it up early.
Okay.
And I would bring it up after date number 1.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because I think that they do have a right to know that they potentially will be waiting for that experience. But I don't want to be telling everybody, because plenty of people won't even make it to the first date. So now you just run around just telling your business. No, you need to know my sexual business, right? So I'll wait till I enjoy date number 1.
Okay.
If I've enjoyed date number 1, that means I'd like to go on date number 2. And then that's when I would probably drop it on date number 2.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
That's all
now, and I also wouldn't drop it the way that you just said. Okay. Like, hey, I'm celibate. How do you feel?
Because I'm so blunt with it.
You have to just add a little bit more tact.
Okay.
A little bit more tact. So it would be, we're having a conversation, and I would try to bring it around to maybe like an ex, or I don't want to bring up sex, because then people they take it in the wrong direction, and it like what positions you like and okay. So try to bring it home around. Like, how many girlfriends have you had, or how long was your last relationship? Something about an ex, right? Okay. Now, if you don't mind me asking, were you intimate with your ex?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, sort of. But anyway, we're not getting into all of the details.
Okay, but enough. Okay. So then I would say, one of the challenges that I faced. Now, you're a good Christian woman, so I ain't going to tell you to lie. But you're going to formulate something along these lines. Like, one of the challenges that I faced with my ex was the fact that I was exercising my celibacy. And I'm waiting until blank, until such and such and such. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So I don't want to make it a blatant sex conversation, but I would try to bring it in and around something maybe like an ex, or something that makes sense, something that's reasonable. Maybe something that's happening in like pop culture. Maybe there's a conversation around Kim Kardashian's sex tape, and maybe one of the kids finally saw it, and now it's on the shade room, right?
Okay.
So did you see such and such and such? Yeah, sex is such an interesting topic in our society. Right now, I'm exercising, right? Like, I'm going to try to bring it in a relatively wholesome
Instead of
way.
Being just so cutthroat with it.
Right. And then say, well, this is what I'm practicing until, and I would give the deadline. Whatever it is for you, if it's engagement, if it's marriage, like you want to be clear on whatever it is.
Yes.
And then I am exercising this until, well, what do you think about that? And then let him share that. Now, I'm going to tell you now, he might lie. Okay. And then he might not show up for date number 3 now, right?
And then that just means we're not compatible.
Exactamundo.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Okay. So, Alicia, I understand that you've written a book around unmarried and no kids and that experience celibacy. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yes. So it's called Unmarried Without Children. And so I'm talking about being out in here in these Atlanta streets trying to date. So having this conversation with you has been incredibly helpful. And then also talking about being challenged in my fertility since I was 34. So it's been quite a few years. And having those conversations when you're dating, you know, especially with men, you know, who are in their 40s that might not have children, right?
Yeah.
Who may want to have children. So
Yes.
having those hard conversations, like you said, that we don't want to have, but now I can have them more with Koof instead of being like, listen, I can't have no kids. So, you know, or, you know, it's going to be a challenge for us if we get married. So, so I do appreciate this conversation around that. So yeah. That is my book, Unmarried Without Children. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, or you can also find it on allthingsaliciaj.com.
allthingsaliciaj.com.
That's correct. And if you think you're the one, you can find me on Instagram at allthingsaliciaj. And that's Alicia, Alisha.
That has been another episode of The Single Season. Thank you so much to Alicia, our guest, and I hope that this was eye-opening for all of the listeners and watchers. If you are interested in booking a consultation, then all you have to do is go to alignwithalison.com. That's ALIGN with Alison.com so that we can connect. Or if you're interested in being on the show, you can also go to alignwithalison.com/connect with me, and you can be a guest as well. Thank you again for everyone who has tuned in. Have a good one.